It's a beautiful day in the Honesty House. A beautiful day in the Honesty House. Would you be honest? Could you be honest? Ooh. Okay, today we are doing the study that we call How Many People Came Back from the Dead in the Bible. We've got this pretty orange page here. We've got some scriptures. And we're going to cover 3 important scriptures about women whose sons died and came back to life. These stories have been told and understood for many, many, many ages. First, 1 Kings chapter 17, talking about Elijah. Elijah the Tishbite of Tishbe in Gilead said to Ahab, I swear by the life of the Lord, the God of Israel, whose servant that I am, that there shall be neither dew nor rain these coming years unless I give the word. Well, that's pretty intense. Then the word of the Lord came to him, leave this place and turn eastwards, and go into hiding in the ravine of Kerith, east of the Jordan. You shall drink from the stream, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. He did as the Lord had told him. He went and stayed in the ravine of Kerith, east of the Jordan, and the ravens brought him bread and meat morning and evening, and he drank from the stream. After a while the stream dried up, for there had been no rain in the land. Then the word of the Lord came to him, go now to Zarephath, a village of Sidon, and stay there. I have commanded a widow there to feed you. So he went off to Zarephath. When he reached the entrance to the village, he saw a widow gathering sticks, and he called to her and said, please bring me a little water in a pitcher to drink. As she went to fetch it, he called after her, bring me, please, a piece of bread as well. But she said, as the Lord your God lives, I have no food to sustain me except a handful of flour in a jar and a little oil in a flask. Here I am gathering 2 or 3 sticks to go and cook something for my son and myself before we die. Never fear, said Elijah. Go and do as you say, but first make me a small cake from what you have and bring it out to me. After that, make something for your son and for yourself, because this is the word of the Lord, the God of Israel. The jar of flour shall not give out, nor the flask of oil fail until the Lord sends rain on the land. She went and did as Elijah had said, and there was food for him and for her and her family for a long time. The jar of flour did not give out, nor did the flask of oil fail, as the word of the Lord foretold through Elijah. Afterwards, the son of this woman, the mistress of the house, fell ill and grew worse and worse, until at last his breathing ceased. Then she said to Elijah, what made you interfere, you man of God? You came here to bring my sins to light and kill my son? Give me your son, he said. He took the boy from her arms and carried him up to the roof chamber where his lodging was, and laid him on his own bed. Then he called out to the Lord, Yahweh, Adonai, O Lord, my Elohim, is this your care for the widow with whom I lodge, that you have been so cruel to her son? Then he breathed deeply upon the child 3 times and called on the Lord. O Lord my God, let the breath of life, I pray, return to the body of this child. The Lord listened to Elijah's cry, and the breath of life returned to the child's body, and he revived. Elijah lifted him up and took him down from the roof into the house. That's the upstairs room. Gave him to his mother and said, "Look, your son is alive." Then she said to Elijah, "Now I know for certain that you are a man of God, and that the word of the Lord on your lips is truth." That's the first place when somebody comes back from the dead in the Bible. The second place, that was Elijah. And this is Elisha. Elisha followed Elijah and got a double anointing of what Elijah had. The wife of a member of a company of prophets appealed to Elisha. The wife of a member of a company of prophets appealed to Elisha. "My husband, your servant, has died," she said. "You know that he was a man who feared the Lord, but a creditor has come to take away my 2 boys as his slaves." Her husband is dead. She's a widow. Elisha said to her, "How can I help you? Tell me what you have in the house." "Nothing at all," she answered, "except a flask of oil." "Go out then," he said, "and borrow vessels from all your neighbors. Get as many empty ones as you can. Then when you come home, shut yourself in with your sons, pour from the flask into all these vessels, and as they are filled, set them aside." She left him and shut herself in with her sons. As they brought her the vessels, she filled them. When they were all full, she said to one of her sons, "Bring me another." "There is not one left," he said. Then the flow of oil ceased. She came out and told the man of God, and he said, "Go and sell the oil and redeem your boys. Buy your boys back, who are being taken as pledges, and you and they can live on what is left." It happened once that Elisha went over to Shunem. There was a great lady there. There was a great lady there. What does that mean? There was a great lady there who pressed him to accept her hospitality. And so, whenever he came that way, he stopped to take food there. One day she said to her husband, "I know that this man who comes here regularly is a holy man of God. Why not build up the wall to make him a little roof chamber, and put in it a bed, a table, a seat, and a lamp, and let him stay there whenever he comes to us?" Once when he arrived and went to this roof chamber and lay down to rest, he said to Gehazi, his servant, "Call this Shunammite woman." He called to her, and when she appeared before the prophet, he said to his servant, "Say to her, 'You have taken all this trouble for us. What can I do for you? Shall I speak for you to the king or to the commander-in-chief?" But she replied, "I am content where I am, among my own people." He said, "Then what can be done for her?" Gehazi said, "There is only this, she has no child, and her husband is old." "Call her back," Elisha said. When she was called, she appeared in the doorway, and he said, "In due season, this time next year, you shall have a son in your arms." But she said, "No, no, my lord, you are a man of God and would not lie to your servant." Next year, in due season, the woman conceived and bore a son, as Elisha had foretold. When the child was old enough, he went out one day to the reapers, where his father was, in a field. All of a sudden, he cried out to his father, "Oh, my head, my head!" His father told a servant to carry him to his mother. He brought him to his mother. The boy sat on her lap till midday, and then he died. She went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, shut the door, and went out. She called her husband and said, "Send me one of the servants and a she-ass. I must go to the man of God as fast as I can and come straight back." "Why go to him today?" he asked. "It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." "Never mind that," she answered. When the ass was saddled, she said to her servant, "Lead on and do not slacken pace until I tell you." So she set out and came to the man of God on Mount Carmel. The man of God spied her in the distance and said to Gehazi, his servant, "That is the Shunammite woman coming. Run and meet her and ask, 'Is all well with you? Is all well with your husband? Is all well with the boy?'" She answered, "All is well." When she reached the man of God on the hill, she clutched his feet. Gehazi came forward to push her away, but the man of God said, "Let her alone. She is in great distress, and the Lord has concealed it from me and not told me." "My lord," she said, "did I ask for a son? Did I not beg you not to raise my hopes and then dash them?" Then he turned to Gehazi. "Hitch up your cloak, take my staff with you, and run. If you meet anyone on the way, do not stop to greet him. If anyone greets you, do not answer him. Lay my staff on the boy's face." But the mother cried, "As the Lord lives, your life upon it, I will not leave you." So he got up and followed her. Gehazi went on ahead of them and laid the staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound and no sign of life. So he went back to meet Elisha and told him that the boy had not roused. When Elisha entered the house, there was the boy dead on his bed where he had been laid. He went into the room, shut the door on the two of them. He's by himself with the dead boy, and prayed to the Lord. Then getting onto the bed, he lay upon the child, put his mouth to the child's mouth, his eyes to the child's eyes, and his hands to his hands. And as he pressed upon him, the child's body grew warm. Elisha got up and walked once up and down the room. Then getting on the bed again, he pressed upon him and breathed into him 7 times. And the boy opened his eyes. The prophet summoned Gehazi and said, "Call this Shunammite woman." She answered his call, and the prophet said, "Take your child." She came in and fell prostrate before him. Then she took up her son and went out. That's 2 women, dead sons. Then, a little quick one. Year by year, Moabite raiders used to invade the land. Once, some men were burying a dead man when they caught sight of the raiders coming. They threw the body into the grave of Elisha and made off. When the body touched the prophet's bones, the man came back to life and rose to his feet. It's a little short one. Now, enter Yehoshua Adonai, Jesus. This is very early on in Galilee. Success and opposition. Afterwards, this is Luke 7, verse 11. Afterwards, Jesus went to a town called Nain, accompanied by his disciples and a large crowd. As he approached the gate of the town, he met a funeral. The dead man was the only son of his widowed mother. And many of the townspeople were there with her. When the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, "Weep no more." With that, he stepped forward and he laid his hand on the bier, the cart that had the body and the casket on it. He laid his hand on the cart carrying the son, and the bearers halted. Then he spoke, "Young man, rise up." The dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. Deep awe fell upon them all, and they praised God. "A great prophet has arisen among us," they said. And again, God has shown his care for his people. The story of what he had done ran through all parts of Judea and the whole neighborhood. Now, if you look up on the web, Betty Maltz, M-A-L-Z, and you look at Betty Maltz's story, she was dead for 28 minutes. They pulled the sheet over her. She was off of life support. And she sat up in the bed, 100% alive, with brand new internal organs. These things continue to happen all around the world. And when Yeshua comes home, we are going to see and know all these amazing things. How many people came back from the dead in the Bible? Tra-la! It's a beautiful day in the Honesty House. A beautiful day in the Honesty House. Could you be honest? Would you be honest? Ooh.